Once upon a time, in a land full of laughter and sunshine, where every morning sparkled with promise and every evening glowed with warmth, there lived a very unusual giant. This giant, however, had a heart as chilly as winter snow. He was big and strong, but his heart felt cold and lonely, untouched by the joy that filled the world around him. The giant lived in a grand, beautiful garden, bursting with colorful flowers and towering trees. It was a place where the sun seemed to shine a little brighter and the air was always sweet with the scent of blossoms. But here's the thing. He wanted all of it for himself. He didn't want to share the beauty or the happiness with anyone else, not even the tiniest creature. So, he built a tall stone wall around his garden and put up a big sign that read, "Keep out." Not very friendly, right? He thought this would keep his garden perfect and peaceful, just for him. Every day the village children would peek through the cracks, their eyes wide with wonder, wishing they could play among the blossoms and chase butterflies under the trees. But the garden stayed empty. No laughter, no footsteps, just the lonely rustle of leaves in the wind. And as weeks passed, something strange happened. The garden began to change, but not in the way the giant had hoped. Spring came to the whole village, except the selfish giant's garden. While the rest of the world bloomed with color and life, his garden remained trapped in a never-ending winter. There it was always cold, and the trees stood bare. The grass refused to grow, and the flowers hid beneath the frosty ground. The birds flew past without a song. Not a single chirp or melody filled the air, as if even the birds knew the garden was not a happy place. It was as if the garden was holding its breath, waiting for something, or someone. The silence grew heavier with each passing day. One morning the giant heard a soft chirp. It was so gentle he almost thought he imagined it. He looked out his window and spotted a tiny, fluffy bird sitting on the bare branch of an old tree. The little bird looked so small and brave against the cold, gray world. The little bird sang the sweetest song, even though the garden was frosty. Its melody was full of hope, as if it believed spring could return at any moment. As he listened, something inside the giant's heart began to warm up, just a little. For the first time in a long while, he felt a spark of happiness. Curious, the giant watched as the bird fluttered down to the ground and called out to the children outside the wall. The children heard the song and their faces lit up with hope. The children giggled, squeezed through a tiny gap, and rushed into the garden. Suddenly, magic happened. It was as if the garden had been waiting for them all along. Wherever the children ran, flowers bloomed, grass grew, and sunshine filled the air. Their laughter was like music, waking the garden from its long sleep. The birds returned and the garden burst back to life. Colors danced everywhere and the air was filled with joyful songs. The giant felt a lump in his throat. He watched the children and realized how much he had missed by keeping his garden to himself. He realized that he had been selfish, keeping the joy of his garden all to himself. The happiness he had tried to protect was never truly his until he shared it. So he hurried outside, gently lifted the little bird into his palm, and smiled wide. The bird chirped gratefully, and the children gathered around, their eyes shining with delight. "Thank you, little friend," he whispered. He knew that the bird's song had opened his heart and brought everyone together. From that day on, the selfish giant wasn't selfish anymore. He became known as the kindest giant in the land, always ready with a smile and a helping hand. He tore down the wall and welcomed all the children and the birds into his garden. The gates were always open, and everyone was free to enjoy the beauty inside. Laughter echoed through the trees, and the garden was never lonely again. It became a place of friendship, music, and endless joy. So, what did the giant learn? He discovered that true happiness is not something you can keep locked away. Happiness grows bigger when you share it. The more you give, the more you have, and the brighter the world becomes for everyone. And sometimes it takes a little bird to show you just how wonderful that can be. The end.